This Hangout on air is live. Hello, everybody. I'm Dan.
And I'm Michelle.
And that was our clumsy introduction. This is week 6 of our ResultFlow workshop, and it is not exactly the session that we had planned. We have about a 2-day gap between our intended schedule for the release of Text Broker and the actual expected release date of Text Broker integration, which means that Leslie will not be able to show it to you live today, even though it is working, because it's not actually rolled out into a production instance where we've got templates and things like that we can show it to you in. And so until that happens, and I believe that happens either over this weekend or maybe Monday, I believe it's happening over the weekend. Until then, we thought that we would show you another piece that we were trying to figure out kind of how we were going to fit it in. And that is the Marketer's Braintrust Reference Blog. And so, Michelle, have you you've seen the Marketer's Braintrust Reference Blog, haven't you?
A couple of times, Dan.
Okay. That's because Michelle built the Marketer's Braintrust Reference Blog, and that's why Michelle is here to show you how it works. And so I'm going to go ahead and switcheroonie it to present to everyone and hope that I can undo that later. I am screen sharing and presenting to everyone. Everyone should now be able to see my screen. And we are on week 6, but this isn't really Link Liberation 3, but it is a little bit of a tease of some of the stuff that we're going to cover in Link Liberation 4, which we'll start doing after we get done with our insider circle first set of sessions. We'll start doing a little bit of Link Liberation 4, which will be probably shorter than any version of Link Liberation we've done, because so much more of it now will plug right into stuff that we do in ResultFlow. And so let's just really quick look at what we're doing here, and with the content marketing strategy that we're employing. So we're selecting a topic, right? So we're trying to find an audience. We're trying to find a topic, something that is of interest to people. And then we're trying to establish a persona. Now, a topic doesn't have to mean one single, very specific thing. It really can be about the audience and who we're trying to reach. And the persona doesn't necessarily mean a person. Persona can be a brand, persona can be a channel, persona can be a website, but it's really more about the persona is going to have a consistent voice and not be just sort of randomly all over the map with what you share, what you say about it, stuff like that. But ultimately, what we're doing for the most part, and besides what we do with creating original content, which is really just an extension of this, we're finding and sharing stories that have been created elsewhere. We're engaging with people socially, and you saw last week how the scripting workflows that are now available to us in ResultFlow can be used to amplify and improve on that. We're creating and posting story abstracts to the blog. We're creating and posting shareable content, what we typically call commentaries, through the blog and also through social channels. And of course, we're doing it all to build an audience, that is to actually get an ever-increasing number of people who are paying attention to what we're sharing. But the ultimate objective here is not just to have an audience, it's to be able to drive traffic, to be able to attract links, to become to develop some sort of brand recognition within at least within a focused audience. And the big change between now and when we did Link Liberation 3 is the ability to develop and leverage remarketing audiences, where you can basically, I mean, you can take Facebook, Google, or anything that allows you to target advertising at people and use remarketing audiences to improve on the quality of the traffic that you're getting, to improve on the targeting that you're getting, and therefore to move your budget from less profitable or break-even areas of your of the opportunity to much more profitable areas. And Michelle, I guess we don't actually have the redirect plugin in our base install, so we're gonna have to show people how to use that. But one of the cool tricks, and we'll get that together this week and show you how to do it, because it's something we actually use on a lot of clients' blogs. So it should be fairly quick and easy for us to build another reference installation. And these things, once you see how they work, it's very easy to just kind of pick the one that you want and clone it. And that, when I say it's easy for you to do that, I mean it's easy for you, the viewer or listener, to do that, and not just easy for us to do it, because it's easy for anyone, and we have simple step-by-step instructions. And of course, we want to monetize the traffic that we get. So either that means, if the blog or news site that you're producing is very closely tied to what you sell, you're in what we call a first-tier market. Well, self-advertising probably makes a lot of sense at that point. But you can also bring in third-party math. And with either one, we're not going to get into that today, but it's fairly easy to do the math on which one is worth more money to you. It's just a matter of, well, testing both and then finding out which one makes you more money. So what we're mostly talking about, and this is sort of the basis of what we do for our content marketing clients. So we're not just like saying you should do this. This is what we're doing for our clients. And with our clients, is typically what we're doing is 3 to 5 items per day for abstracting. I believe with our clients, gosh, I don't remember the exact number, but I believe we're posting 5 times a day. So it's like 3 abstracts and 2 commentaries or something like that we do. Yeah, and more is okay as long as the audience that you have will actually absorb it and share it. And really, the larger the audience that you have, the more stories that you can share. And so this is one of those things that kind of does hit sort of that inflection point in the curve where you kind of hit the steep end of the hockey stick. Once you've got an audience that's large enough and you've got enough content going through, you can really see the kind of the growth rate take off on the audience that you're building. And with things that we're doing an abstract on, that means we're writing, typically it's a short description of what it is, why it's interesting or whatever, and then we're posting that on our blog with a link. But on social media channels, we're not posting a link back to an abstract on our blog. What we're doing on social media channels is we're actually sharing essentially the content of the abstract out onto social media channels, so that we're directly linking. So if I've got an item that I'm just going to do a quick intro or abstract for, I'm not going to post that to my blog. I'm going to post that to my blog, but I'm not going to send social visitors from Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn and wherever else to my blog to read that abstract. I'm just going to share through those channels socially. I'm just going to share the link to the original item. And essentially what we're doing with the abstract category on our blog is we're creating sort of our own little private channel of our social shares for people to read if they want to follow along there. And then with the commentaries, one of the things that, I believe Nick called this out in the Slack chat, that he's already doing this quite a bit. And we've been talking about this since 2004 or something like that, in terms of a great way to be able to share other people's content and have the links to it come back to you. And that's using embeddable content. So rather than writing sort of a long opinion piece about an article and then linking to the article, you can also find, if there's a video, you can write essentially just a short abstract type description of that video. Or if there's an infographic, again, just a quick little introduction, and post those embeddable items in there. And that way, when you're sharing socially, you can go ahead and send people directly to your blog, because the thing that you're telling them they're going to go get is right there on that page, whether it's a video or an infographic. And of course, these days with Open Graph and all the other fancy pants stuff that you can find on channels like Facebook, and Twitter has Twitter cards and things like that. You can actually get a really nice, pretty shareable post if you just do a few of the right things on your blog. Now, I used to absolutely not recommend doing just embeddable content, but if your purpose really is just building remarketing audiences and you're just trying to find people that, right, did they sit through a 10-minute video on how to pot plants or something like that. If they did, then they're probably somebody who's really interested in potting plants, and you might be able to sell them some potting soil or little bitty shovels or whatever you people use. And of course, then adding in longer posts and stuff like that, a little bit of original content is something that you're going to want to bring in. But the first thing that you want to do is really get the sharing going, get that engine going, figure out what kind of content people in your audience are responding to, get your audience to start growing. And at that point, then it's actually worth investing in your own original content. Until you've kind of figured out and gotten the pulse of what do they want from me, there's really no point in trying to create it. And you can find out what they want from you a lot easier if you're sharing 25, 30 items a week. You'll get really quickly over the course of just a few weeks. So we get great feedback from the audience in terms of what they're interested in, right?
Yes.
And so the the real simple truth here is that content marketing has always been effective. It has worked forever. I mean, content marketing was working for me in 1994 and 1995 and 1996 and 1997 and every year since then. But the problem with content marketing for, especially for, smaller businesses has been, one, the cost of creating it and to be able to do it on a consistent basis, but also the time that goes into managing it, right? It's easy to say, well, we'll scale up and we'll be doing this many articles and all that kind of stuff, except that you'd rather that the cost of what you're doing boils down to what, I mean, Nick described it in Slack as beer money, right? For the infographic sharing that he's doing, which gets him lots of traffic and lots of interested people and lots of links and all that other stuff. That's what, right, the cost being beer money and the time being something that it's, with ResultFlow, it's a lot more of an investment up front in getting the systems built, but actually managing it and running on an ongoing basis simply doesn't need to take that much time. And of course, now we've got, not just MTurk, which we've had in ResultFlow since, I guess, 2010, 2011, but also now TextBroker, where we can write feature-length content. And we've been doing some kind of stress tests on TextBroker and pulling together some examples, which we'll be able to show you when we're actually doing the TextBroker training. It's ridiculous the amount that we can save now, and the reduction in cost that we can get, and also the consistency in that I'm going to be able to get content back when I need it, and I know that what it's going to cost me, and I know what the quality is going to be like. With TextBroker, we haven't really even gotten into it, but it's kind of cool the way that you can engage with individual authors. If you liked somebody's stuff, you can ask for them by name, I believe, if you want to, and of course when you do that it'll cost you more, but also now we have the automated distribution and promotion stuff, like you saw last week with some of the Twitter promotion workflows and stuff like that. And the automated distribution isn't something that all happens in ResultFlow, and some of that stuff is triggered by events that are happening on the blog. In fact, when you saw Leslie showed you sort of a classics promotion workflow for Twitter as our example last week. That was actually relying on there being a category on the blog for most popular or classics or things like that, that when stuff gets added to it, that gets added to that workflow. But that's really something that's driven by what happens on your blog. And so, of course, if your blog didn't have that category and you didn't have any easy way to get that content out of your blog, then, well, it'd be hard to run that workflow. And so a lot of this stuff kind of, it has to fit together in order to work correctly, and we have to have all of the pieces in place. And one of the things that we've never really set up before and shared with people is sort of a standard installation. What's the basic WordPress installation that we run, that we recommend that you run? What are the plugins? What's the theme? How do you do the layout? All that kind of stuff. And so we've kind of resisted that for a lot of reasons. One of them is the difficulty in supporting stuff like that. We've actually, I believe, now got a fairly easy way to support that. And once we figure out the backup and restore posts thing to be able to do this with a migration, it'd even give you sort of a basic install that you can completely wipe clean your current blog setup and replace it with the MBT reference blog. Now, do not do that to start with, and I will warn you about that again. But it's going to look very similar to what we have right now on marketersbraintrust.com, if marketersbraintrust.com is actually currently live, because Leslie's been doing battle with somebody that's trying to hack in, and they're not being successful, but boy, are they making it a pain in the butt right now. But what we have here is a flexible layout. It's a very inviting front page. So if somebody lands on the front page of it, they're going to easily be able to find something that's interesting to them and get to dive in. It has all of our recommended buttons in terms of sharing buttons. It has all of the recommended plugins that we use for related posts and things like that. And it does have a few plugins that are optional but extremely useful, and we'll walk you through which ones those are. And it also, I believe, includes at least one and maybe more than one. I guess 2 plugins. One of the optional plugins is not free, and it's something that's very, very easy to just set up and clone, and literally you can build a brand new blog in 5 to 10 minutes, just using the process that Michelle is going to show you. And so I believe I got one more warning, and then we'll come back to this warning after Michelle is done showing us stuff. This cloning process that Michelle is going to show you that allows you to install the Braintrust Reference Blog wipes out any content that might exist in a blog that you apply it to. So do not apply this to a blog. Do not do what Michelle is about to show you on a site where you do not want to wipe out all of the content and start fresh with a brand new empty blog. Now, Updraft, which is one of the optional plugins, and there are other tools that allow you to migrate posts, and we're working on getting some documentation together. And like I said, should be done, over the weekend, to show you how to do that migration. A lot of people already have done, a million content migrations and stuff like that, or they've backed up posts and re-imported them and stuff like that. And so, if you're at least confident enough to do that, that you think that you probably won't break it, to do it in a test environment anyway. So make a test subdomain or something like that, install the Braintrust Reference Blog, and actually attempt importing your backed up posts into that blog before you actually do any kind of a migration into a production system. So again, the cloning is going to make a brand new blank site. And so if you want to preserve any content, you actually have to be prepared with a plan for how you're going to restore that content, because you are going to, if you install this on a blog, blow up the content that you have on there. I must repeat, because it is important for you to know, if you do this and you blow up all of your content after I have spent 45 minutes or so of our session today warning you not to do that, I will not feel sorry for you. That's the only thing, in fact, that could ever cause me to have a lack of empathy, is if I've told you 95 times and then you don't listen to me. So everybody is properly warned. Michelle, you've been warned. Just don't do this to yourself, because that would be ironic and funny.
Okay, I don't think it would be that funny, but all right.
Well, some irony isn't funny, but in this case, I think it still would be funny, because you know better.
I do know better, and I learned better, because that's how I learned to do it, not to do it, by doing it. Okay,
so what Michelle's going to do here is walk us through what the site looks like on the front end first. So she's going to, while I'm babbling here, she's going to be pulling that up in her browser and preparing to screen share with you. And so Michelle's going to show you what it looks like on the outside. So, what's the home page look like? What's the post look like? What else do we have here? And I'm going to go ahead and make Michelle the presenter. Michelle, present to everyone. Okay, Michelle, are you presenting to everyone?
I think so.
Okay, so okay, Michelle, presenter. Michelle, present to everyone.
Yep. Oh, you know what? I switched back to my screen to see you, to double check where we were. All right, okay, fantastic. So that's what's confusing you. I apologize for confusing you there. So this is our Lorem Ipsum blog. We thought that would be a perfect thing to name your Latin blog with. And this is a Genesis theme, and we currently have it set up so that as new posts come in, this is one particular category here, which is your commentary, or your commentaries. And this column is your abstracts, which we put in something called a news category. We've simply done some setups to the menu, and we've added social icons here. We've made sure that there is space available for header graphics or
and that's
CTAs.
Actually an ad there using the Ad Rotate plugin. Is that right, Michelle?
This is the Ad Rotate program right here. Absolutely.
Okay.
And this space, though, is a Genesis powered feature. So even if you weren't using Ad Rotate, this is available in Genesis, which is kind of cool.
Okay.
And then this is also currently using Ad Rotate over on this side.
All right. So if you weren't going to use Ad Rotate, which you probably should, then you could turn that off, and these spaces would just sort of collapse up into the thing, right?
Correct. That is absolutely.
So for that header graphic, it'll use whatever Genesis has. We just happen to have used our code for Ad Rotate in the place in Genesis where it asks you what you want to stick up there.
Exactly. And I'll show that in a little bit. It's really nice. And I think that's one of the real pluses for the Genesis framework is it does give you the ability to, without knowing any real programming, to move some things around and restyle it in some way that you might like if you don't necessarily want it to be exactly like this. So I do like that about it. This particular setup is homepage, and imagine this: left column, right column, or I'm sorry, middle column, sidebar. And we actually, this is something new that we're testing, Dan, too, is going back in and putting popular post here and actually creating a popular post category, because imagine what?
Right, so that category is actually one that we can pull an RSS feed from for the content promotion. So the kind of the classics promotion, that long-term just kind of delay workflow that just sort of drips out links to your most popular content over time. So maybe like one time a day you throw out a link to one of your classic popular posts. That's the category that you'd go grab the RSS feed from. So so basically what this layout encompasses an easy way for us to display if we have featured posts, if we have if we're just doing commentary and abstracts, then you're not going to have a features, anything in the features. But Michelle, the menu at the top, it makes it really easy to see. Now the quick reads is something that is actually not a category. Right, and so that's something that we just use as a headline for that section, and so that is something that you can go in there and you can change whether it says quick reads or news. That none of that stuff is baked in and you're forced to use it. You can go and change that stuff.
That is correct. So these headers, you get to pick what they say. You can control how long this is. You can control whether this says read more or buzz off. It really is I don't recommend buzz off, by the way.
Buzz off is not recommended.
No, not a click now. But they are great, and it really does allow you to sort of style how the front's going to look and give you the ability to make it look pretty nice, I think. As blogs go, I've seen way worse. One of the other things that we have done here is we also have put, little footer links, general things that folks like to see. You can customize your name. And one of the features when you do this for yourself, you'll note we actually put all kind of UTM tracking codes and stuff because I like to know. And so I have UTM tracking codes in the menus when we're clicking out to our main site and in the Rails, because everybody wants to know if somebody's clicking on your stuff, right? You want to know where that link came from and where that click came from. So I think that's important too. A regular page might look like this. This happens to be one that doesn't have an image, a paragraph, a link out. This actually flowed in here from ResultFlow. A lot of the other Lorem Ipsum stuff was hand created, but this flowed in from.
Yeah, most of your content is really not very good, Michelle.
Oh, thank you.
Copied and pasted the same sentence 100 times.
Oh, thank you. That's so kind.
But this is fantastic. Good job.
And this was, this was 30 cents. So, who's complaining? Hey. And I happen to like this, and everybody has a different method. For my personal blog, since I'm generally the writer, I don't like to necessarily identify my writer, so my user for doing this is my staff writer, right, or staff or team. And so this is all controllable within how you set up your blog.
Right, so you might call that Lorem Ipsum staff.
Exactly.
Or editors.
Or editors, or whatever it might be. So
okay,
now,
so shall we show them what it looks like on the inside?
Yes, that's the
Let
next
us
place.
Allow them into the guts.
Dun, dun, dun. Oh, yes, I logged in. Sometimes when you use LastPass or other things aren't remembered well. So everybody on the call and everybody in here is using WordPress already in some level, so we won't bore you with this page. But
well, not everyone is using WordPress, but this is not a reference Joomla theme. So sorry, Joomla and Drupal people. This isn't for you, but it may give you some ideas.
Absolutely. So in the first thing I really want to show you is the Genesis framework and how we make a few of the changes and how things appear. And so even though I said Genesis, it's actually in Appearance. And
this is the Genesis News Pro theme.
Genesis News Pro, correct.
What baby theme we've got installed.
And so it's the widgets, and so they're all widgets. So a lot of people are familiar with the widgets for your sidebar, but the whole front page is controlled with widgets, and so it's really nice. You notice that on the front of the blog, I had the banner. There's the Add Rotate plugin. I just drop it on there. If I open it up, I can actually see which advert number I'm using. We have our primary sidebar, which is down the right-hand rail. And what's in there? The search, the Add Rotate, the popular categories or popular features. We're not using the secondary sidebar.
Can we show them real quick what that looks like on the right-hand side?
Yeah,
just so they
sorry.
get,
yes.
Just, I mean, we're not going to have to do that every time, but if we just do that real quick.
Sure.
This one time so they can see. So on that right-hand sidebar where it says search this website, and then you've got the Add Rotate, right? And then the popular posts, and then Michelle, go back and show them exactly where that came from. Yep. And so all of these columns that you see on the homepage are just widgets that that we control. So anyway.
Absolutely. And let's say that you didn't want the Add Rotate, which was something that you said, Dan. If you don't have an Add Rotate ready right now, you can just pick this up and drop it.
Bam, it's gone.
And if I come back over here and refresh.
Okay, put it back, put it back.
Put it back, but it's so pretty. Put it back. Okay, so Add Rotate, I now say I would like to have it on the primary sidebar, and I'm going to add the widget. And I happen to believe that that's add 2. We'll find out in a second. Was that one 4? I think 4 is at the top.
Okay, maybe it's 2. You're right. My bad.
We'll find out. We'll find out. I can go in and look. I can go in and look too. And the other thing is when you drop it in, it goes to the bottom. I want it right back where I had it. So I just click and drag it right back up there. Let's see if I pick the right add 2. No, add 2 isn't the right add number. There would show up right there. So I'm going to pop into Add Rotate and take a quick peek so I know. Manage groups. I bet it's a group, which is a beautiful thing. Nope, no groups. Ads. This is I love right-hand rails add 3.
Number 3.
Number 3. And it's just that simple. This is number 3. Yep. And you can do this in groups or you can do individual ads. Dan, I love this plugin. I know you guys hear me rant about it all the time, but I really, really do.
I mean, Add Rotate was when we've been using Add Rotate since at least LL Link Liberation 2. So, I mean, 5 years.
Yeah, so, yeah, it's beautiful.
We like it.
We like you. So now that is saved, and we'll go back here and look again, and that ad should be right back where it belongs. So beautiful. Just that simple to fix and change things on the site. In the home top, we don't currently have anything in the home top because we don't have a particular featured page or featured post right now. But if I wanted to put it in the top, I could put featured post and say, I'd like to show my popular category, please. And we're going to call this is the feature. This feature, we're just going to leave it at that. And if it has an image, show my image and show a big image and save. And now if we go back to the home page again, you'll see that.
Just like that. Now you've
got
your latest featured story showing up. So when you start to pour in original content, feature length content, boom.
Boom.
Just like that.
And it really is just like that. And this is based on what the picture size is and things like that. And you'll play with it, and you'll figure out what works best for you.
Yeah, we're not trying to tell you that this is the perfect layout, but it's one that's one fits the process that we're using. So we're showing you exactly what we use for our clients. But sometimes we will modify this if a client wants to modify it, and it's very easy to do. That's how we do it in here. So okay.
Absolutely. Same thing for remember I said middle left and middle right when you think of the center of the page. So on the left was quick reads, which you saw. On the right was news. And then recent comments were below the news. We aren't using any of these other ones at the moment, but you have lots of other features available for how you could lay out the bottom of your screen, how you could lay out after an entry and stuff like that. And so I recommend getting here and looking at it and playing with it and see if you want to practice styling. other things that you can do inside Genesis. But it is pretty nifty how simple it is to fix things. Things that you'll want to fix probably will be like your header. That's also, that's also an appearance thing. And you can just upload a header image from here. Currently, it's looking for something that's 250 by 90. I can show you guys a trick to change that, but you don't want to mess with it too much, because the other nice thing about Genesis,
the WordPress fixed width thing is you can do it, but this will actually work on mobile. So just don't do that, and figure out how to make it work at this size if you can.
Exactly. Because it makes it real pretty for mobile. That was exactly what I was going to say, Dan.
The way the kind of sort of the archaic features of WordPress, it's just you can't deal with a really large fixed width image, and it's not going to scale right on a phone. So just live with the restrictions of what you have to live with, because phones are out there and people are using them to read your content, and you want them to, because it is so easy for people to push that share button and share stuff on a phone.
We were looking at a pretty high volume client yesterday, and 52% of their traffic is from Facebook is coming from phone.
Well, I've seen sites where there's the little pixel hacks and stuff like that you can do to figure out how many people are actually logged in, and I mean, I've seen sites where it's 80+% of their phone users are logged into the Facebooks already, which means that if you want to target them on desktop, that's a remarketing audience away from finding that same person on a completely different device because they were logged in. So anyway,
one other really cool plugin that we're now using, and this is the paid plugin. It's Featured Images,
and this costs $17, right?
$17 a year. Yep.
Oh, a year. Okay.
A year. But for what it can do, I know that's really tough, because I don't know how much you would pay an admin to do this.
I'm going to pour this coffee out and pretend I didn't drink it so I can afford.
Exactly. Well, and I mean, I don't know how much you pay for overseas folks, but once you set this up, it pretty much can run itself once you figure out what to do. So the nice thing about Featured, the Pro version, is it lets you, the regular version lets you set, replace, and remove. So you could actually look at all of your posts, and I'm actually going to go to my post page here. And I can see what has a featured image and what doesn't have a featured image.
That's worth it all by itself.
Yeah, it's a pretty nice thing. Well, and if you're setting up fairly generic images, which is one of the things that we recommend so that you can reutilize your images, whether it's 5 images or 10 images, things that could easily go across different posts, you can use the featured image to go in and set, replace, and remove. And you guys hopefully noted that there were no images on a couple of those. So I'm going to tell Featured Post to come in and set multiple images, random featured images. And I'm going to choose the images, and I'm going to say I would like this one, and this one. Oops, have to use the control key. Set these as images. And I could actually have it replace everything on the site, or I can tell it to only look for the pages that don't currently have an image, considered only posts without any featured image. I can click OK here.
So in other words, if we go to work on a site that hasn't had featured images on their posts and they've got hundreds of posts, we can actually set up a batch of them and go and just apply them to everything that doesn't have one.
I just did. Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. So now if that worked and I didn't look, you can see that everything has an image now. Boom. Just that fast.
If it gets shared on Facebook, it's going to have an open graph image, etc., and you're in control of what those images are that are in that pool. So if you think about it, like it'd be nice, but it's costly to have a separate, special, individual featured image for every post. But now it's pretty simple. If you want to have a special featured image for a post, you just create that, and if you don't have one, you can still post, and this plugin will add it. Now, because of the way that WordPress posting works, if you're getting content in from ResultFlow and you want to use this to add featured images, you want to publish to the venue as a draft, and then go in and open it up and publish it in WordPress. Or of course you could also just you know, you're going to have to publish them, but you could also go ahead and bulk add the featured images to it and then publish a whole bunch of posts at once.
The other nice feature in here, and I could test it and see, let's view this post here, is there is a scraper plugin, and so I never should do stuff live when I don't know if it's really going to work, but I'm gonna take a chance. Dan, let's see.
What's the worst that could happen?
What's the worst that can happen? Show existing scraping information. Okay, it didn't work that time. So there's also, when you are creating a brand new post in here, there is something that we have set in the plugins called a Facebook scraper, and so it will go and run a debug session when you've opened a post and saved it, which is nice because then the first time it's shared on Facebook, it doesn't show up with whatever your CTA is. It'll show up with the image you intended. So that's another plugin that's stuck down in here somewhere. Another good reason for when you save it manually to have that done. All right, let's look at a couple more of these things that are really cool to have. Eggplant redirects in case you need to move stuff around. All of the Genesis ones go with Genesis, and you need them for Genesis. The image watermark is a pretty cool feature. So let's say that you're uploading images, and you may have noticed on this blog post that I've got a little image here. I was able to overwrite all of the images that I chose to with a little watermark at one time. I didn't have to manually do this in Photoshop every time. And that's a plugin that's in this, going to be in this release of the install. And it may not look beautiful here, but you can figure out what's going to work right for you.
You don't have to use that, but it's again, this is what we use, and it makes it really easy to do the work that we do to try and just, you know, give our clients sort of the best look and feel for their content in the tightest branding, to make sure that you know, that when people are coming in, it doesn't just look like a WordPress blog that somebody's cousin threw together. It looks like something somebody worked on.
Exactly.
Like Michelle worked on it.
Like I did. It's really cool stuff. Let's see. We talked about the images, featured images.
Limit login attempts is just there to kind of control who comes in. We've also got another plugin called anti-captcha that we didn't show you because there's nothing to set on it, but it massively reduces the amount of spam comments and stuff like that you get. And it's called anti-captcha because it doesn't make people do a math problem to be able to post comments.
Which is nice because sometimes math is hard. This also includes simple custom CSS. So if you have CSS capability, you can make some tweaks yourself on the site by messing around with the CSS, just some simple stuff. Updraft is another one that if you want to be able to do backups, you'll need to register and pay a fee for the pro version. Dan, I don't know what the fee is on this one.
You can do backups with it. What it doesn't let you do is so you can do backup and restore with it, but unless you pay for the paid version, then you're not able to do cloning and stuff like that with it. But
okay.
But we're using something else to clone. So there are some cool things that you can get from Updraft Plus, and it'll probably be the migration workflow that we show you. We'll probably use it, but unless you're doing that, you wouldn't need the paid version of that.
And then the last one that really is WordPress Facebook Pixel, and this is just putting your Facebook Pixel ID on the site and making sure that you can set it up on the site, and it's just that simple.
And when we come by a little bit later and show you the redirect hackery that we use to set Facebook, basically to create pages that allow us to link to someone else. So we can link to an article on pbs.org, and when it's shared to Facebook, it'll look like it's from pbs.org, but it'll go through our site and drop a Facebook pixel on people. This comes in handy for that too. Anyway, carry on.
Yes, carry on. And so, Dan, are there any other features in here? Last one is your Google Analytics, where you'll want to go in and add your own GA code. Make sure you get that set up. I think that's all the general settings and tools here. It's a really simple.
And I guess the only other thing we should probably, well, we should mention, but we don't need to go into in detail because it's been gone into in detail before, is where the content goes from here for social distribution. So so we have content going out through Deliver It. Is that right? To reach different places, and that's based on the feed from these different categories that we've set up.
Correct. And that is, if you don't know, it's dlvr.it. And so you can set up a Deliver It account, and once something shares to your blog, you can then have it socially distributed across the channels. You can set up some timings. The free version, I think, only gives you one venue to work with. The paid version isn't terribly expensive. And with it, though, the nice thing is it'll come back, even in the free version, to just check every 30 minutes for new content. And so if there's new content, then it's sharing it. There's some trickle features and things like that that make it nice. You're able to tell it whether you want to share OG images and all those different things. So it's really kind of a cool plugin.
So we'll get
done.
Either you or Corey back to do another session at some point to show people how we set up Deliver It, because again, this is something that we use for all of our clients, and so we may as well show people how we use it,
how we make magic.
So I guess now the time is to show people how to grab this thing and install it, right?
The time has come for all good men. Yes. And so I am already logged in here to a blank lorem ipsum. So this is, you'll note, just a different subdomain on the blog here. And this is my clone. And I want to actually show you guys live how we're going to clone this. And here we go. This, you can see, this is just whatever 2015 styling or whatever. The first thing that you want to do.
So what you want to do is start with a completely blank WordPress install, and then you need to do this.
Right, exactly. So Dan said it, and I'm going to say it again. Cloning will overwrite and erase your existing data. This is for a new or blank blog install.
Okay. Yes, new or blank. It will blow up all of the content that is in there. And so you don't want to do that if you don't want to do that.
Including usernames, which is why the very first thing we need to do is add a user and make sure that you know how to log back in. So the very first thing I'm going to do here.
You'll get these text instructions, folks, so you don't need to like write it down or anything.
Don't worry. Don't worry. I'm going to add a new user here. Now, I just told you that it's going to overwrite the user. The reason I want to add the same user is so I can log out and log back in as that person and reduce the friction when the clone happens. So I am setting this up as blog clone manager, and it's my email. I'm already using that, so where's my plus symbol?
Now, it doesn't have to be Michelle's email when you set it up.
And in fact, I would prefer that it not be
Michelle's email when you set it up. Use your email when you set it up.
Exactly. So
then WordPress will send you an email with your password and all that, and
then it won't come to me, and then I won't be able to log in and do fun things in your website. So yeah, when you set this up, it's going to say show or hide password. So you want to show the password and you want to change it. Get out of the way there, RoboForm. And it's going to say you are a weakling. Yes, I know I'm a weakling, but this is what I need it to be. And you also need to be an administrator. And if you want to send this to yourself, you can. So I've now added a new user. Thank you. I am going to
Don't worry about the weak password, because you're going to delete doing this long enough to install the reference blog.
Absolutely. The final step of this installation is to log out and log in as a new admin and delete that user. So now I am going to get my clone URL, which I have here stored handily dandily. I have that, but first I need to add one plugin. And that plugin is WP Clone. If you don't want to use Akismet or Hello Dolly, you can just delete those. Since we're using anti-captcha, we don't really need Akismet.
I highly recommend deleting those.
Okay, so we're going to delete the plugins that are there and say, yes, I really do want to delete those. And now we're going to add WP Clone. It's this pretty yellow one here. It's compatible with this version of WordPress.
And they do a good job of keeping it up to date and
Mm-hmm.
working, which is why we use this one.
And so now it's now installed, and you can see over in the left side, WP clone is here. And I want to restore from URL. And I have my magic URL that I copied, and we'll make sure that you guys have that in Slack.
And now they're going to make you check a box that says, you know, you're about to blow up all of your content.
Here we go to blow it up. And just as a reminder, this says, you see this says lorem ipsum up here, visit site and all that stuff. I don't know what it'll change to something else. Here, this could take a few minutes. If you had a big clone process, it would take a while. For this one, it doesn't take long at all. Visit your restored site here. You may need to resave your permalink. I do that. Once you do that, it's going to ask you to log back in as your blog clone leader, a blog clone manager. Normally, I go ahead and log in. I forgot to do that because I was talking. Get that. Imagine that. Logging back in. And so this is that password. And now you'll see this says Cool Shopping Ideas, which was that other site name. And this is now the clone version of that site. It may look just a little bit different than the one you just saw because I set the save up a couple of days ago before I added some of the new posts, but we are now here. This has now been cloned. First rule, the very first thing that you want to do is go into your dashboard and go into your users and create a brand new admin. And new admin, I'm just putting that for now, but whatever you want it to be.
Use whatever you want, but
Absolutely.
Don't use admin.
Yeah, don't use the word admin. Okay. Dan Thies.
And don't use Dan Thies. It's my trademark.
That's your trademark? Okay, well, we'll.
Blog leader, Zeta, there you go. Your email address, not ours.
Yes.
Your first name, not ours. Your website, not ours, etc.
Exactly. But you have to fill in the email, and let's see. And then if you want to show your password or whatever, email it to yourself, you can. I am just going to, for this quick thing for me, I'm just going to do this so I can remember and log back in. And make sure it's an admin. Add this new user. And I'm going to log out. Now, Dan, I don't know if there's been any questions or not, but.
Not on the Hangout. Let me see what we got in ResultFlow Insiders chat.
So now I am logged back in as blog leader. And I am going to delete this blog clone manager because I don't want everybody else from the ResultFlow group to have my username and password.
If you don't do this, then you are inviting anyone, and I think granting an exclusive license to them to just do whatever the heck they want to your blog.
Yeah. This is really important, really critical to do that. So it's that simple. We just have to log out, log back in. If you happen to have content, which you wouldn't, but you could just say, hey, move all that to me. Confirm deletion.
Yeah, and you really don't want to be posting content as an admin user.
Nope.
You don't really want the admin usernames to appear anywhere on the site if you can help it.
Yeah. That's why we use an editor.
Right. You don't use admin as the username because they could guess that because it's the default, and you don't want to post or publish stuff as admin because then that exposes your admin username, and now they're just trying to guess the password, and you'd like them to have to guess both because then they'll give up eventually, right, Leslie? Sure they will. Eventually those morons will give up. They're trying to password guess their way into our site, and it ain't going to happen. Anyway.
Eventually. So the only problem that I have run across with the clone is that for whatever reason, AdRotate made a change from the first time I tested it until now. Isn't that awesome? Because that's how that happens. And so they're looking for a folder called banner within your WP content. and you can't actually add it from here. You will have to go into your cPanel and add it to get rid of that error.
cPanel or by FTP, you're going to need to
or by FTP. And all you have to do is make a folder called WP content/banner, and this error goes away.
So it's just a folder called banner in the WP content folder that's
missing, and it doesn't clone, and I haven't been able to figure out why. It worked the first time, and then AdRotate updated their version amidst my working.
That's fine. Okay,
it happens. So now I've gotten this blog. What am I going to do with? Well, first off, this is my site, so I don't want it to say that anymore. So I'm going to go into the appearance and just into customizers and go straight down and fix a few things. My site identity is not Cool Shopping Ideas. It's my awesome clone. And if I wanted to change that image or hide that image and just have text there, I could do that.
Well, the text even looks good if you just have the text version.
It does. It does.
Sort of.
It's not well with the ad there. It looks.
Since we never would leave it just as text for a client, we haven't done a lot of work on what it would look like if you didn't use an image.
Exactly. If you want to do any background image changes, you can do that. Background colors. Let's see, colors were here. I think I'd rather have this be a pretty pink blog.
Also not recommended.
Also not recommended, but it's fun. You know, it's cute. Your menus are all in here. So you can just literally go through and save all these things. And I changed really the real reason I changed a couple of those things, Dan, was to prove to our folks looking on that we were actually in a different site. And you see it's my awesome clone here. And this is pink. And here is my original clone here. Or my origin site here.
Okay. So that's the Marketer's Braintrust reference theme. Let me see if we got any questions in here that we need to. Another question from Carlin's been answered. And we don't have any questions on Slack, so I think we're running about a minute behind. So let's give them a minute to
post
questions. And by the time that I get done saying this, we'll have waited a minute for any other questions. So the cool thing about Slack is that it's live, and the cool thing about the Hangout page is that it's not live. So, okay, it looks like we don't really have any other questions.
Well, and so then what I recommend to each person to do is once you install this is literally just go top down through here.
Go through every setting and make sure that it's what you want it to be. Yeah.
And make it yours. Whether it's the images, whether it's the Facebook pixel. Please don't use my Facebook pixel. I don't think I have one in here, but I discovered that recently. And if you clone it to another blog or something like that, I've discovered recently where someone has installed another person's pixel on their page, and so all this retargeting traffic, they thought they were retargeting for one product. They're retargeting a completely wrong place.
Yeah, that's bad. You don't want that to happen.
That's bad. Add, rotate, you can pull those off or make your changes. Let me show you guys a couple of things in here if we have another minute, Dan.
Yeah, let's show them add, rotate, because it's just very, very useful.
This is cool. We are just using the regular version of Add Rotate. You could upgrade to a professional. You can come in here and manage your adverts. Several of the features that I really like is one, it's stats, right? So you can see what your click-through is. And these are individual ads. You can reset them. So you'll want to, once you set yours up, reset so you know what's happening. You could run special offers. And I could say that I want this ad here to stop running or renew it for 7 days or set a date to deactivate it or what have you. And so, for instance, this weekend is Valentine's. If you have Valentine's specials that are running through Saturday night, you could put an ad up that you then just set to turn off at noon or whatever the time is or however this works on the date, the time you want to deactivate it. In the ad itself, I just try to give it a reasonable name. You just strictly upload your image right on the ad you're working on, and it takes care of the rest with this beautiful little merge code for image. And then you wrap around just like you would anything else for your ad text if you were going to be doing an image. So clickable image.
You want it to align center or whatever, it just you can
do it right there.
Do that right there.
And it's beautiful too, because it just lets you do so much stuff. The actual, let me get over here to the widgets real quick. And within the Add Rotate widget too, you can put some titles and stuff if you need to or want to right on the page, which is nice. You don't necessarily have to do that. You can tell it whether you want to use an advert, which is a single ad, or a group of ads. So for clients,
so a group of ads that rotate.
That rotate at the top or rotate on the left.
So you'd have more than one group if you wanted to have rotating in every place.
Absolutely.
Each section, each place where you're going to position an ad block in your widgets, you'd want to have a group if you want to rotate.
And one that I just tested today, Dan, is I did an ad rotate and ad rotate. And so I have an evergreen offer in the top one, which is just a little tiny, 80 pixel tall ad. And then their different offers go below it. And so now they can switch those out, but keep this evergreen offer up there no matter what happens to the ads below. So there are lots of really cool ways to use ad rotate. Limited only by your imagination. Let's go and take a look at the schedules. You can actually set up schedules in here. You can go into groups and say that I want these ads to be in group 1 and these ads to be in group 2, so that if you were rotating ads, you wouldn't necessarily have ad A showing on top of ad A if you were putting them side on a column basis on your bar there, which I think is kind of cool. I always find that weird, Dan, to go to a website and you have like 3 ads for exactly the same thing, the exact same ad.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's awesome when that happens. And I've not really messed with the settings. I literally have found ad rotate to be so intuitive. I just get in here, do what I need to do, and move on. So I set up the ads, then I add it to the widget, and I'm ready to go.
But you do have, if you want to have people that are just logging in to manage ad rotate stuff, you can actually set up users to do that. It's a very, very powerful plugin.
Yep,
so.
it is really cool. And I do like the expiring, I know I talked about it, but do like the expiring feature and setting up to where you could go ahead and set up your ads for Mother's Day, Father's Day, or whatever, and have them in here and ready to go, right? And so you don't have to we used to have to rush to our site and get this up and get this down. So good stuff like that.
You can set up all kinds of schedules and things like that. It's super cool.
Super, super cool. Super cool.
Okay, so let me see if we got any questions that have come up here. None there. Maybe. Let me refresh just to be safe. Wait, is refreshing safe? I don't know. We'll find out. Refreshing was safe, and we don't have any additional questions there or in the Slack. So
perfect.
I think we're all done here today.
I think so too. Fantastic.
Okay, so I'm going to stop the broadcast. Thanks, everybody. The recording should be there moments after we stop.